Let's move on to another one of our goals. And actually, when you and I started working together on this campaign earlier this year, this wasn't necessarily one of the points that we were talking about. And as the campaign evolved more, we realized, hey, this is actually not something we should take for granted. This is something we should embrace and we should organize around. And that's winning the Maryland Green Party primary. So for folks who have never participated in a kind of DIY potluck primary, because the state of Maryland, by the way, going back to our theme of a broken democratic system, only funds and only manages the primaries of the two corporate funded parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. There are other parties that they recognize as having having secured a ballot line and done what they need to do to exist as a political party, but they don't have their primaries funded by the State Board of Elections. So if you've never participated in a Maryland Green Party primary, which is probably, a decent number of the folks watching or listening, can you set the stage a little bit for us, Andy? What's it like, and who participates and how is it run, that sort of thing?
So small parties in Maryland have a lot of latitude about how they nominate their candidates. They can do it by convention, they can do it by straw poll, they can do it however they want. The Maryland Green Party for the last several years has had a primary. We allow every registered Green that is eligible in the state to vote in the governor's race. And even if we don't, and we use ranked choice voting for that, and for the multi-member seats, we use proportional representation. We use the kind of voting methods that we want to see other people using. And so in 2026, every eligible Green in the state of Maryland who is registered at the time of our primary with the Green Party will be eligible to participate in our primary. It is a party-run primary. We use a piece of software called OPA which is an open, it's a piece of voting software to help people to run elections. And, it's a 3-week voting period. That might get changed at some point. We've found 3 weeks is a little long for that. But everybody gets to vote, and the people who get the most votes, however we tabulate the votes, will win. Now, one important thing I want to say here is even if we don't have opponents in that race, Greens believe that there should be a none of the above option on the ballot. So if you are looking at your ballot for something else, you're looking at like so many of the districts in the state, you're looking at your state delegate ballot, and there is one person there. There's not a challenger. There's nothing like that. Right now, your choice is to be able to vote for that one person or not vote for that one person. We believe that there should always be 2 choices on the ballot and that they should always include that person and none of the above. We had a candidate lose to none of the above in the past because they didn't organize a strong primary campaign. And I think it's a good way for folks who don't like the candidates that are there to have something to organize for, because in a traditional system, and the system run by the Democrats and the Republicans, if you don't have opposition and you vote for yourself, you win, right? And it's like, well, this is a ridiculous system, and so, yeah, we have a primary. People get to vote in it. And even if we don't have an opponent, they get to vote for none of the above if they're like, y'all, this ain't it. I don't like y'all, or I don't want anybody for that position. And sometimes Greens decide they don't want somebody for that position. One of the things that none of the above allows is if you're like, no, this race is too close and too important, and I don't want us to risk being a spoiler, you can vote in that election and you can vote none of the above.
So that's sort of the numerical and process reason why this is a goal for us, right? We don't want to lose to another candidate who may or may not emerge. We don't want to lose to none of the above. That would be not a good look after investing so much in this campaign and having so many people join us in this work. But I think there's also a strategic and organizing reason why winning this campaign and winning it in a big, decisive way is a top-line goal, equal to, in some ways, qualifying for public financing and participating in the public debate. So can you talk about kind of the strategic and organizing goal of winning the Maryland Green Party primary this summer?
Yeah. Totally. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but there's some really interesting political science that looks at the way that third-party votes are most effectively won, and the way that third parties can most effectively overperform the polling and the expectations. And that is engaged members of the third party who are actively participating in the process of spreading the word about the campaign. And I think in a lot of times in the past, when we've had small primaries or the primary has been seen as an afterthought or a burden for candidates even, it is because they have not been thinking about this part of the goal. But I believe if we can get 300, 500 people committed enough to vote for us over none of the above or another candidate, I think we have a core group of people coming out of July, going into the really important election season, hopefully spread across the state, that can be our key spreaders, that can be the ones who are out there telling their friends, their families, their unions, the people they meet at the library, the people they meet at the bar, the people they talk to on street corners about our campaign, the need to invest their vote in something different, and the reason the two-party system is not working for folks. I think most people know the two-party system is not working for them, but they don't have anybody there explaining to them what the alternative is. When you and I do that work, we find ourselves we get converts. People are like, hell yeah, that makes total sense. I understand what you all are doing and why to do it. If we activate that group of folks who vote for us in the primary, that group of folks becomes those, prime spreaders of the word that help us to go all over the state in the fall of 2026 and to get the kind of votes we need to really surprise the status quo and show people that Maryland is ready to embrace something different than what the two parties have on offer, and ready to build and construct a multi-party democracy that works for everybody.